So this morning I want to talk a little bit more about the need for us to learn from our mistakes. Right now, there's a lot of things that people can learn about the fake news revelations. Special interests have very much used Facebook to divide and conquer based on race and politics and make situations that are already lingering worse. We need to resolve some of these issues. And if there are actual grievances and people being slaughtered, for example, let's focus on those issues and not deviate into some of the disinformation that's on the internet. Now, I know what it was like, by the way, as we left 2008, went into 2009, the types of news that was being reported at that time, especially out of InfoWars about an imminent economic collapse, about Bush invoking martial law to stay in power. Then we were inundated with Barack, insane Hussein in the membrane, insane in the brain, and all of the hysteria once Barack's name came out. And the question is, did Barack actually bring us the apocalypse? If so, then are we living in the post-apocalypse rebuild? No, we're not in a rebuild because we haven't hit bottom yet. So no, that's not true. So we can actually identify fabrications. Of course I'm not for Obama. But there's truth about his role in the New World Order, playing a role as a puppet, expanding the wars, expanding the debt, things of that nature. And then there's stuff that deviates. You know, there's even stuff that deviates about Trump that's not real. All to get us in this divide and conquer web. And see, they know that conspiracy theory is popular. And you know this. Any of us can look at Jesse Ventura on conspiracy theory, Ted Turner, and now he's working with the Russians. Isn't that interesting? It's almost as if, and I don't want to, it's not that I'm speaking ill of Ventura. No, I've never trusted the guy. I've seen him as a person that's almost talked down to certain people and played the role. And I think that really works on certain women and certain people just get some thrusting and stuff because he sounds like a real American. But Ventura, through his associations, has always come across as questionable, but he may be a good person deep down inside. I think the greater point that I'm trying to make is that they use monikers, memes, sigils, XYZ, and so against the man versus the man. The TV show, versus the man. And they're like really dumbed down even titles for some of these shows. They're like mass marketed, you know. And there are other ways that people mass market themselves. Like, I'm alternative media. Yeah, really alternative guy. Real alternative. Sure, buddy, establishment hates Trump. Just keep telling yourself in the mirror. Certainly, you'll believe it, and maybe you'll become so convincing that elements of your audience will believe it. Just tell people what they want to hear. Yeah, Google AdSense. Ride that train. And ride it. And you know they're around that train. All the way up until the 2016, before the AdSense apocalypse, they were just milking it, and milking it, and milking it. And I'm just watching, oh my God, the devil bought these people by fucking rewarding them, by being liars. My grandmother she was known for screaming, get out, to my grandfather back in the day, on my mom's side. But it's like, liar, you know, with that type of a tone. You know, and then that's what they are. They're liars. They don't really put in their place by an angry grandmother, you know, shaking her fist. Some of these people really ought to be scolded by people that are amongst their own family members. But it's not good to lie for politics, to bring Jesus into it, to manipulate audiences, to create fake grievances and fake conspiracies, because it's popular to do so. Create your own conspiracy theory. It's kind of like that game, Create Your Own Adventure, that book series. Remember that book series, Create Your Own Adventure? It wasn't that cute. Well, it wasn't meant to be like giving us ideas. Create your own conspiracy theory. Go gadget YouTube hot words. And like people like using their like intuition for like what if people were to use their talented gift of gab that the creator has given us to not deceive people under Trump's umbrella, but to help people really break through the matrix? Why don't these people realize that what they're doing is simply hurting themselves? And I have no hatred for Donald Trump. I have no hatred for Barack Obama. I have no hatred for George W. Bush. And all these people are contributing to a lot of killings. I don't need to hate them, but what I'm not going to do is not support them. I'm not going to run PR for them. I'm not going to believe them. and their followers when they say they're presenting change we can believe in to make America great again or for the first time. I'm not buying it. No, I don't need to hate. I don't need to riot. I don't need to go protest. But I don't believe in it. And I'm going to speak out against the mind control. So I believe there are real conspiracies. And the left, a lot of people like to criticize the left, but here's what I have to say. They are using a lot of this as ammunition. A lot of the racism that's out there that people are falling into and other things to demonize all conspiracy theorists. They were doing this 10 years ago, and I was warning people about it on my cable access show. How they're trying to associate conspiracy theorists with white supremacists. At the time, I thought that was nuts. Not anymore. Since 2015, seeing how they've co-opted a lot of people into thinking that, people of different ethnicities is multicultural and other things. Folks, we got to get out of that. We got to heal from that. We got to become friends with each other and not provoke wars with each other. It is the only way to heal and save our consciousness. It's not fighting the government, and it's not fighting our political enemies. We've got to stay top notch up here. It's our job. I started with a couple cups of coffee and a swish of tea. Got to bring balance into our lives, ladies and gentlemen. Got to hydrate up. Yeah, it's going to be a nice winter. I'm going to work on continuing to help people unplug from this matrix. But as people start aligning with their own truth, they might start to see people on the internet sing a different tune and go, you know what, this doesn't resonate with me. I don't trust this Facebook post. This starts to feel fake. Oh, it's one of those websites I never heard from again. And you ask yourself, is this true? And you learn how to click on it, go to the home page, see if it's a reputable source. If it's an alternative source, look at their other alternative news. And is it there to divide or demonize one particular group? Or are they really putting together a good, healthy, abstract mix of information and maybe warnings? That's okay. Maybe a few conspiracy theories, that's okay too, but have it balanced. Don't all go one way and use conspiracy theory to straight up demonize a group of people. We've seen this before. I don't trust this pro-Hitler movement. You would think that I shouldn't have to talk about it, but it's been happening. It's the Hitler was right movement. It started a few years ago. And it's weird how Russia's playing their role, even though they supposedly stopped the Nazis as they went in and raped the German women in 1945. They weren't coming with Sharia law, but the Russian troops were certainly coming with the thrusting hips of war. If you haven't seen Casualties of War with Sean Penn, if that won't open up your heart, seeing that type of tragedy through the eyes of the actor of Michael J. Fox in that depiction from Casualties of War, where Sean Penn is raping a Vietnamese victim of war, I don't know what will. You got to understand these things actually have been happening, especially since these countries have been occupied. The question is, you got to answer for yourself and to yourself. Were all these people involved in radical Islam or the 9/11 attacks, even if you believe the official story, and even if you believe the official story, that is preposterous. When you have these amount of Muslims being killed by ISIS, whether you believe they were created by Obama, whether you believe they were created by this group, and then the Russians were out there putting out information that McCain created ISIS. And me saying that may be disinformation doesn't mean that McCain's a good guy. That means there are disinformation out there to lead people to these fake grievances and fake conspiracies to the media and the left and the right, because you've got to remember how they were demonizing 9/11 truthers when Bush was in office. So the left and the right and the mainstream media plays both the left and the right. Tip the glass to CNN. Got to remember they were putting out the war propaganda during Bush after 9/11. You can't say it's the Clinton News Network when CNN is a bigger mass media mind control than even that. It's more like the communist news network. So, why do we talk about protecting your psyche? Why do we talk about spiritual growth? Why do we talk about growing your intuition? Just like we have an intuition when we know when someone's looking at us. In an urban environment with lots of distractions, you and I still know that is real. Cultivate that. Don't let people tell you that it doesn't exist. It does exist. We need to start seeing reality as it is and not be victim. Because when we start seeing reality as it is, we rise from victim consciousness to a place where we're not a victim. Where we're physically not immortal, but spiritually, we are immortal and eternal beings that are here in a classroom. Shh, don't tell anyone. Oh no, don't tell anyone that we're in a classroom It knows we're waking up, whether it be a shift in the magnetic field or something from the cosmos. So they're doing everything. They're throwing everything at the kitchen sink and more to throw us out of an evolution in consciousness. And you know how you do that? You hijack the truth movement. You hijack spiritual teachings and things of that nature. And you lead people astray to where people don't even know what to believe in anymore. So really, it's like a situation where it's a self-defense situation. If you're thrown against the wall, you may have to react in some sort of a way. Otherwise, you're going to get pummeled. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to hurt the other person. To use a martial arts analogy, you can use the least amount of force. So in this situation, we don't have to be necessarily at war with those forces that want to possess our minds, but we need to protect our minds from those forces of darkness and those entities that wish to sap us of our strength. But I believe that a lot of us are here to use this technology for a positive purpose. We need to, as I wrap up and conclude here, reel in the negative thinking process. What YouTube and Google is doing is not moral. But they are not 100% evil. They have provided some of us an opportunity to reach the world, despite the fact that they, as a business, are engaging in certain actions as a business that they are doing to appease their advertisers. Welcome to the corporate world. This is how radio and TV is. Don't act surprised. Flow with it as best as you can. Attempt to make the world a positive place while we can. Yeah, the world's a surveillance society, but as all this data is being amassed, people are also using some of that data from some of these videos and some of the PDFs and some of the books to wake up. Because you know what's going to be around in a collapse situation for some of us and others? It's going to be books and information. And that's one thing that they're not going to be able to destroy. So again, last thoughts, that's why there's disinformation. Because they figure if they flood the internet with disinformation, some people just won't know the truth versus that which is a lie. So with that, I close on this early morning Halloween video cast.